Kings, Queens, Guardians in Between, welcome back to another video of the Sweaty Spooks channel. Today, I am going to be reviewing a build using Relativism, which is a little different from the content I typically do. Typically, I do weapon reviews on this channel, but I had so much fun with this particular exotic armor piece. And it's very unique, something new that Bungie has introduced. And I'd like to talk a little bit about the very first drop that I received and get into why I've been having fun with it. Just a quick reminder that if you happen to find any value from this video, please consider liking, commenting, and subscribing to help me further in my goal of reaching YouTube affiliate. So without further ado, let's get right into it. Okay, so here we are with my Prismatic Hunter with the Relativism exotic on, as you can see. And on this particular Relativism exotic cloak, I'll be using Spirit of Caliban, so powered melee final blows trigger and ignition, as well as Spirit of the Liar. Dealing damage with a powered melee or being hit by a melee attack will allow you to follow up with an extremely powerful arc melee counterpunch. So this could basically be compared to Liar's Handshake. Using your arc melee ability or being hit by a melee attack will allow you to follow up with an extremely powerful melee counterpunch that will heal you. Now you'll notice in Relativism that there is a key particular piece of wording that is missing from Spirit of the Liar, and that is that it would heal you. However, we have something to counteract that. If you go into the build and take a look at your fragments, we're going to take a look at Faucet of Blessing. Melee final blows start health regeneration, while Transcendent, melee final blows start health regeneration for not only yourself, but nearby allies as well. That's how we're going to compensate for the healing factor. Now let's start taking a look at the actual build. For the super, in early testing, at first I was using Silence and Squall, which is good for slowing down some enemies, certainly if you're in big groups of enemies. However, I found that this, being DeadFall, works just as well, if not is more preferred, because you kill more adds, as the damage is shared amongst all adds who are afflicted by Deadfall. So for Deadfall, tether foes to avoid anchor, weakening and suppressing them for you and your allies. The suppressing factor can be really helpful when you're going up against tormentors or subjugators, and I believe that some of the footage that I have will prove that as well. And I found that to be a bit more helpful than just using Silence and Squall, where they get slowed. Personally, I found that by suppressing the subjugators or tormentors, that you were able to do more damage. Sometimes, if you were lucky, you were able to stun lock them. So, of course, with your Transcendence, you have the usual Transcendence as well as Hailfire Spike. In the abilities section, I'm going to be using Gambler's Dodge. So dodge to perform a deft tumble, avoiding enemy attacks. Dodging to your enemies fully recharges your melee ability. Now you're going to notice with this particular cloak, if you will, as soon as you get a kill with your melee ability, in this case being Combination Blow, you automatically get your dodge back. But in the event that you were in a bind and you needed your punch back immediately, you could just use your Gambler's Dodge and you'll have your Combination Blow back immediately. So, speaking of Combination Blow, a quick strike that temporarily increases your melee damage when defeating a target, stacking 3 times. Defeating targets with this ability also refills your class ability, there it is, and restores a small amount of health. So, restores a small amount of health in conjunction with Faucet of Blessing. We have some synergy going on there, and it's very useful. Now, the interesting thing about using a grapple grenade is that whenever you use your grapple, you do have a melee ability from your grapple when going into targets. So when you grapple into a group of enemies, Spirit of Caliban will proc, and those enemies will still explode in an ignition. For the aspects, we're going to be using Winter Shroud. So dodging slows nearby targets, and we're also going to be using Stylish Executioner. Defeating a target affected by any elemental debuff grants invisibility and true sight. After performing a Stylish Execution, your next melee attack while invisible weakens targets. And for the fragments, we're going to be using Faucet of Balance. Rapidly defeating targets with light damage grants melee energy. Rapidly defeating targets with darkness damage grants grenade energy. We're going to use Faucet of Protection. While surrounded by combatants, you are more resistant to incoming damage. and while Transcendent, this effect is increased. Faucet of Blessing, we discussed this one earlier. Melee final blows start health regeneration, and while Transcendent for not only yourself but allies as well. Faucet of Courage, your Arc, Solar, and Void abilities deal increased damage to targets afflicted with darkness debuffs. And last but not least, Faucet of Ruin. Increase the size and damage of the burst when you shatter a stasis crystal or a frozen target, and increases the area of effect of solar ignitions. So Faucet of Ruin is going to have a bit of synergy when it comes to Whisper Shroud, because dodging slows nearby enemies, as well as Spirit of Caliban. It's going to make those explosions even larger. So coming back to the last perk that we haven't really quite discussed yet in the Relativism build is going to be Spirit of the Liar. Dealing damage with a powered melee or being hit by a melee attack will allow you to follow up with an extremely powerful arc melee counterpunch. And of course, that is going to be paired with Combination Blow. Now, in order to make this build even more effective, I've decided to use a shotgun that comes with 1-2 punch. So hitting a target with nearly every pellet in a shot increases melee damage for a short duration, which is going to stack with everything else that we're using. This is going to be really good for boss damage. And just to make things even better, why not use Tractor Cannon? So Tractor Cannon has Repulsor Force. This weapon emits a powerful impulse that pushes enemies away, suppresses their abilities, and makes them more vulnerable to all incoming damage. Although this might not be the top DPS weapon of choice, I would argue that this particular build combined with Tractor Cannon is going to allow those DPS builds to really shine and do even better. So with this particular build, you have lots of ad clear, no trouble there. You have a way to suppress enemies, you have a way to slow enemies, and you also have a way to provide debuffs, which is going to help your teammates do even more damage. And just out of general curiosity, if you happen to be curious about my fashion, here is my appearance customization screen. And yes, I'm guilty. I do love the super black shader. Okay, thank you for sticking with me this far, Guardian. I appreciate your patience. In the middle of creating this video, I had someone who was a lot smarter than me in the terms of Destiny science break down what's actually happening here, and I just wanted to discuss what is actually happening here so that way you have some numbers to go by. So, Spirit of the Liar is 200% increased unpowered and arc melee damage, which of course Combination Blow 3 times. But it requires an initial melee hit to activate. It can also activate upon being hit with a melee attack, but that's inconsistent, so we're going to disregard it. 1-2 punches bonus is reduced to a 40% increase, 1.4 times, when cross counter, or Spirit of the Liar, is active. So assuming you're getting an even number of melee hits in, the first hit is Combination Blow with full 1-2 punch for 922.50% increased melee damage, which is 10.225 times the damage. That hit activates cross counter, fully applying to Combination Blow but reducing 1-2 punches bonus, stacking together to 1,617.80% increased damage, or 17.178 times on the second hit, resulting in an average of 1,270.15% increased melee damage, which is 13.70 times damage. Well, there you have it, Guardians. We're going to get into some Dual Destiny exotic mission, just so that way I can kind of showcase what this build is capable of. Again, if you found any value in this video, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe.
May your stars be bright and your ghosts sharp, Guardians.
A long time ago, there were 3 sisters. A voice in the darkness put a lie in their hearts, and they've acted on it since. Just as you've been lied to. Light and dark, witness and traveler, always doubled, always pitted against each other in some grand game. Well, I've had enough of their games, haven't you? Let's break their rules together. no power in blindly following the whims of capricious, self-titled gods. Except yourself.